1937. As Japanese forces push deeper into China, the small town of Tongguan occupies a strategically advantageous position. Rather than taking it by force, the Japanese plan to buy off its leader, Xiao. Their scheme is disrupted, however, by a trio of con artists who arrive in Tongguan, posing as special envoys of the Kuomintang army, supposedly tasked with distributing a military relief fund. Greedy Xiao realizes he's been handed a rare opportunity. He can skim money from this fund as well, so the deal with the Japanese is put on hold. At least until everyone in Tongguan becomes completely confused about who is actually trying to con whom. Chinese comedian Shen-Yang is a deeply polarizing figure. He rose to fame almost overnight after a skit at the 2009 Spring Festival Gala, alongside his mentor Zhou Benshin, instantly becoming a superstar. His earnings skyrocketed, which predictably led to conflict with the very mentor who had discovered him. Within a couple of years, Shen-Yang was accused of having let fame go to his head. He left Zhou Benshan's wing to pursue a solo career, and while he remains well known today, he is nowhere near as influential or universally beloved as he was at the peak of his popularity. Appearing in a huge number of forgettable films diluted his once superstar status. Unfortunately, this is a familiar fate for comedians whose success comes too early and too easily. These days, however, Xiao is doing a lot to restore his former reputation. Among other things, he alternates between projects of very different genres and scales. He works both for wide theatrical releases and online streaming platforms, aims for leading roles, and doesn't shy away from cameo appearances in potential hits. In short, he hustles. An Abundance of Dunes is another such step. An unconventional and not entirely obvious choice. A military-patriotic satirical comedy released exclusively on the iQIYI streaming platform. To fully grasp what's going on here, it helps to have at least a basic understanding of the historical context. China in 1937 was a vast, fragmented country dominated by Japanese occupiers, bandits, and local warlords who barely acknowledged the authority of the Kuomintang government. Without this background, An Abundance of Dunes can easily come across as just a loud, chaotic comedy, when in fact it draws on far more fraught historical material. The film's protagonist is con artist Jia Yizheng, who poses as a special envoy distributing military aid funds. He cleverly outwits local officials interested only in personal gain, but eventually realizes he can't simply run away and leave Tongguan to be torn apart by Japanese troops. The film's shift from a playful, occasionally genuinely sharp satirical comedy to an overwrought patriotic action piece happens abruptly and with almost no build-up, as if the movie suddenly becomes afraid of its own lightness. Yet this rupture feels less like a mistake and more like a symptom. An Abundance of Dunes exists within the rigid constraints of online production, where dense plotting, artificial sets, and a compressed rhythm are not artistic choices but industrial necessities. These limitations prevent the film from achieving the elegance and refinement of true big-screen cinema. It can't be placed alongside theatrical releases like An Inaccurate Memoir and similar films, where criminals rediscover their patriotism and rise to defend the homeland. But within its own enclosure, An Abundance of Dunes works as a military-patriotic satirical vaudeville that is silly in moderation, serious when it needs to be, biting at times and melodramatic at others, complete with the almost theatrical artificiality typical of the online film industry. Not a masterpiece, but for Shen-Yang, who is genuinely good in the lead role, it's certainly a respectable step forward.